You know, for a whole decade, it was the biggest secret in Silicon Valley. A project so massive, it was supposed to completely reinvent how we get around. But then, after 10 years and billions of dollars, poof, the Apple car was just gone. So what on earth happened? Let's dig in and unpack one of the most expensive and fascinating failures in modern tech history. First, just let this number sink in for a second. Over $10 billion. That's billion with a B. That's more than $1 billion a year. Every year, for 10 years, spent on a car that never actually existed. Yeah, this was no side hustle. This was a massive, all-in effort.
So you've got to ask, right? How does a company like Apple, I mean, we're talking nearly unlimited cash, the smartest people on the planet, a company that has changed the world over and over, how do they fail this spectacularly? What really killed Project Titan?
All right, Section 1, the $10 billion ghost. To really get what went wrong, we've got to understand what this thing, codenamed Titan, actually was. Think of it like a phantom that haunted Apple's brightest minds and its bank account for a solid decade.
So, the story kicks off way back in 2014. That's when CEO Tim Cook gave it the official green light, and it all came to a screeching halt just this year, in February 2024. That's 10 full years of secret labs, poaching top engineers from other car companies, and just constant restarts.
Okay, so what was the big idea here? Well, the ambition, it was pure, uncut Apple. Seriously, this was never about just building another electric car to go up against Tesla. No. This was about creating the next big thing, the next iPhone-level disruption. You see, Apple looked at a car, and they didn't just see a car. They saw the ultimate mobile device. So the goal wasn't just to make it electric, it was to completely reinvent the whole idea of what a car could be, starting from scratch.
And right at the core of this whole dream was this huge, crazy goal: Level 5 autonomy. Now, we're not just talking about some fancy cruise control here. This is a car where you, the human, you're not a driver anymore. You're just a passenger, a guest. We're talking no steering wheel, no pedals, just a private lounge on wheels.
And you know who summed it up perfectly? Johnny Ive, Apple's legendary design genius. He said, "I want passengers to sit facing each other, as if they are in a private moving sanctuary." He didn't want it to feel like driving. He wanted an experience, an elegant glass room that just happened to move. This wasn't a car, it was moving architecture. But, and this is a big but, that beautiful, sleek vision, it immediately smashed right into a brutal reality, inside Apple itself. The project was basically a civil war from the get-go, torn between two completely different philosophies. Okay, so picture this. On one side, you have the software guys, the iPhone culture. Their whole mantra is move fast, ship it, we'll patch it later with an update. But on the other side, you have the hard, cold reality of car manufacturing, where you can't just push a software update to fix a car crash. The safety rules are absolutely brutal. And this clash, it just paralyzed the whole project. And this internal war created something insiders started calling the vision seesaw. The leadership kept changing, right? So one boss would come in and say, okay, let's be practical, let's build an EV people can actually drive. Then they'd get pushed out and a new leader would demand the original dream, the fully autonomous pod with no steering wheel. Billions of dollars were just torched chasing one idea only to scrap it and start all over again. It was just a cycle of incredibly expensive indecision. So on top of all the internal fighting, the project ran face first into a giant technical brick wall. It turns out building a self-driving car is, just a little bit harder than building a smartphone. Who knew? So Apple had this secret fleet of Lexus SUVs kitted out with all their tech, driving around California. And they kept getting stumped by these edge cases, these weird real-world problems. I mean, think about it. To the AI, a plastic bag blowing across the road, it could look like a boulder, making the car slam on the brakes in traffic. A cyclist giving a friendly wave, the AI might misinterpret it as a turn signal. Faded lane lines in the pouring rain, the car is basically driving blind. These weren't just simple bugs. These were fundamental life-or-death problems that Apple's smartest engineers just could not solve. And man, this quote from a senior engineer who quit, it just says everything. Working on Titan was like trying to paint a battleship while it was actively sinking. You can just feel the frustration, right? The best minds in the world were burning out on a project that felt completely hopeless. So yeah, you've got a team at war with itself and a technical problem they can't solve. The end was pretty much inevitable. The final decision to kill the project really came down to a mix of paralyzed leadership and a very harsh dose of financial reality. It created this situation that some people are now calling the Cook paradox. Think about it from Tim Cook's perspective. On one hand, he can't afford to miss the next big thing, so he keeps pumping money into the car project. But on the other hand, he absolutely cannot risk shipping a half-baked product that could tarnish the Apple brand forever. So what do you get? A zombie project. It's too big and too expensive to kill, but it's way too far from perfect to ever actually launch.
And then, there's the small matter of the money. Apple is a company that runs on huge, juicy profit margins. I mean, that's their whole business model. But the car industry, it's famous for being a brutal, low-margin business. The numbers just didn't work. Apple's high-margin dream couldn't survive in the low-margin reality of building and selling cars.
And so, in February 2024, that was it. The plug was pulled. And the timing here is really key. The electric vehicle market was starting to cool off, but a new gold rush had started: generative AI. So Apple made a strategic call. They shifted all those billions and all those engineers away from the car and straight into the AI race. And just like that, the decade-long dream was over.
So $10 billion later, what's left? Is it all just a giant write-off? Well, not exactly. The ghost of Project Titan, it turns out, is still wandering the halls of Apple Park, and in some pretty useful ways.
So even though the car itself is dead, its tech DNA is alive and well in the gadgets you probably own. All that work on car-grade LiDAR sensors? Well, they shrunk that tech down, and now it's the key to the amazing augmented reality stuff on your iPhone and the Vision Pro. Those big breakthroughs they made in battery management to cool a car, that helps your MacBook run longer and cooler now. And the super powerful neural processing they built to navigate a busy street, that's now powering the on-device AI in your phone. In a weird way, Project Titan became the most expensive research and development lab ever, and its inventions got sprinkled across everything else Apple makes. But in the end, maybe this quote from Doug Field, one of the former project leaders, just nails it. Hubris was the silent killer of Titan. Apple basically thought that because they'd mastered consumer tech, the messy, complicated, greasy world of car manufacturing would just bend to their will. And it just didn't. And that kind of leaves us with this one big thought, doesn't it? The story of Project Titan, it's like a modern fable about the limits of pure ambition. It's proof that even for the richest, most powerful company on Earth, some mountains are just too high to climb with a slick design and a bottomless wallet. It really makes you wonder, what's the next big thing that even a company like Apple can't conquer?